Am I the a-hole for filing for full custody and child support after my cheating ex spiraled and asked me to temporarily take the kids? My ex-wife and I divorced after I discovered she'd been cheating. To save face, she told everyone I was abusive. I was not, but a lot of people in my life initially took her word over mine. It's all okay now. Before all this, we had everything we ever wanted. Kids, a beautiful home in a gated community, stay-at-home mom life. But she wanted to chase after a man who never saw her anymore than a short-term booty call. So I filed for divorce. We have 3 kids and originally did 50-50 custody. Her AP dumped her pretty quickly. She jumped into a new relationship with a guy who swore he was a fully recovered alcoholic. 2 years later, he relapsed, quit working, and dragged them into a mountain of debt. Around the same time, she lost a decent job after trying to steal money, pending charges, started couch surfing, and eventually moved in with her mom in another state. When that relationship blew up, she begged me to temporarily take the kids, just until she got back on her feet. I said yes because the kids needed stability. Months went by. The kids were finally settling. None of the kids wanted phone calls with their mother. They felt like she chose men over them. Meanwhile, she kept bouncing houses and jobs and prioritizing new relationships over consistent parenting time. She wanted to switch back to 50-50 with no plan, no housing of her own, no child care, not even a reliable car. I said I couldn't keep jerking the kids around like that. She protested, partly because it meant she wouldn't receive child support anymore. I filed for full custody. The court appointed a GAL, reviewed school records and therapist letters, and looked at the police report from her previous job situation. The judge awarded me full legal and physical custody, set supervised visitation for her for now, and ordered child support based on imputed income and state guidelines. I didn't ask for anything above guidelines. I asked for what the kids need covered: insurance, co-pays, activities, after-school care, clothes. She's since moved into a 1-bedroom and is working nights at a bar and days at a grocery store. She tells mutuals I kicked her while she was down, and that putting her on child support was cruel because she has to work 2 jobs to afford it. For what it's worth, I don't badmouth her to the kids. I document, I follow the orders, and I encourage contact when they're willing. Child support goes to the kids' expenses: after-school care, therapy, medical, clothes, etc. I didn't file to punish her. I filed because the kids needed one stable home and reliable parenting, and because she asked me to take them, then wanted to yank them back without any real plan. Friends of hers say I'm heartless for filing when she was down on her luck and for letting the court put her on child support when she's struggling. My view is that child support is for the kids, not a punishment, and she should be willing to contribute to her own children. Am I the a-hole for taking full custody instead of keeping it temporary the way she wanted? Comments: you're the asshole. Your post drips with contempt, which makes it hard to believe you're neutral with the kids. You could have sought a temporary modification with clear benchmarks and a plan instead of jumping straight to supervised visits and full custody. Supervision is usually for safety or neglect, not poor choices in partners and a relapse in finances. Child support when she's barely afloat may be legally correct, but the timing reads punitive. If the goal is your kid's long-term relationship with both parents, you're not acting like it. You're the a-hole. You used her lowest moment to lock in the maximum legal advantage and then called it for the kids. Courts don't require you to talk about her like trash. Your language gives away the motive. Everyone sucks here. She cheated, lied, picked bad partners, got fired for theft. She created this mess. But you're reveling in the downfall, and that's not a great look for a co-parent. The kids already know she's inconsistent. They don't need your running commentary or a legal trapdoor slam forever. A better path was a temporary custody change with reunification therapy, milestone goals, housing, stable job, counseling, etc. If she fails, then you have a record for a permanent change that's clearly kid-focused. But what you did was vengeance and trying to pass it off as doing it for the kids. Not the a-hole. Family court exists precisely for scenarios like this. One parent is unstable, the kids need one predictable home, and the other parent has already been doing the day-to-day. She asked you to take the kids, then had no plan to resume safe, consistent care, housing, employment, transportation, etc. Child support is not punishment. It's the children's money, and guideline orders apply no matter who has less cash. Your post mentions you stick to the order, encourage contact, and don't badmouth. That's what a responsible custodial parent does. If she gets sober, secures housing, and shows consistent involvement, she can petition to modify. Nothing is forever. But until then, it is what it is. Story 2. I'm the wife who had the emotional affair with a coworker. My husband found out about it 3 months ago. I told him it ended the day he confronted me. That was a lie. I never ended the affair. I only hid it better. I made a burner email. We messaged through work computers he couldn't access. When he told me he suspected there was contact after my D-Day, I said it was harmless closure. But he asked for more and more details. I gave him pieces. Over a few days, like pulling teeth, more came out. Not only were we still talking, we had hooked up several times over the few weeks since D-Day. Contact slowed after that and actually ended about 6 weeks ago. However, I let him believe it ended weeks earlier. Watching him take that in was like watching a trap door open under someone you love. He left the house to breathe. I cried and begged and apologized. And for the first time, I think he believed I actually grasped what I'd done, because I finally stopped minimizing and admitted the timeline and the full extent. He came back and we talked, really talked, for hours. I'm grateful he turned around. Here's what I can own now without hedging. I watched my husband fight anxiety, sleepless nights, and the work of trying to rebuild with me while I was still protecting the affair in the background. I told myself I was sparing him more pain by managing disclosures. What I was really doing was protecting myself from consequences, from shame, from losing the high of being chosen. That is the part that guts me. I saw him struggling and kept him in the dark anyway. I'm done with trickle truth. Full disclosure is on the table. Devices, accounts, access to work calendars where possible, and a written timeline he can take to his therapist or a poly if he wants. I've established and will keep hard no contact, blocked everywhere, no goodbye, no just work stuff, no exceptions for conferences or parties. If AP is present, I remove myself. I've scheduled individual therapy, and I'm asking for a meds evaluation because the flatness and avoidance I used as excuses are my problems to solve, not his to carry. I'm also turning over the pace of any reconciliation to him. He drives, I follow, and if he needs distance or ends it, I will respect that. None of this erases the damage. I lied after D-Day, I kissed another man, I maintained secret channels, and I let my husband do recovery work while I was still betraying him. But he told me last night he's finally seeing what he's been yearning to see for months. Actual remorse and change, but that it might be too late. He said he can't get the images and the lies out of his mind. Guess that's on me. I've broken him. I told him that I'm here to prove every day, quietly, for as long as it takes, and that he'll always be the best thing that ever happened to me. If you're reading this as the betrayed, you're not crazy for sensing more. If you're reading this as the wayward, there is no clean version where you keep a little piece of the affair and still rebuild. It's all or nothing. I chose all too late, but I'm choosing it now and accepting whatever comes next.